J is hard as hell. Battle anybody, I don't care. You I accept. They on.
What's up, everybody? We're back again for another beer flow this week. We're going to kick it off with the Rock the Bells episode. Of course, this classic here from LL Cool J that came back in the 80s. Some of you probably weren't even born when this jam came out. So this is from back in the good days of the old school and the hip hop. So I'm rolling here tonight. Jay, of course, and I'm going to call him Terrible T, Todd Wren out of Indiana. I got Buffalo Joe, Average Joe from up in Buffalo. And we got E, we call him E, Eric and Lions fan in the house tonight from up in Michigan. We're going to get it rolling on talking about some of the beer flow this week. And we're going to feature a segment this week actually on Bell's Brewing. So that should be pretty interesting. So as we start to go through and start the show, what are you guys drinking right now?
Well, I've got
the
Bell's Black Note from 2014.
Nice call.
I also have the Bell's Black Note from 2014.
Oh, somebody's biting the style. Somebody's biting the style.
What? This was totally...
I have Bell's Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Oh, right on time for Oktoberfest. And I think the first one that I have here is my favorite, probably wheat ale of the wheat ales, Bell's Oberon.
Oh, boy.
Solid.
And that's that pale wheat ale that Eric loves.
That's that American pale wheat ale, Eric.
With coconut.
So I'm going to go ahead and get mine in a glass. And how was your guys' beer week going so far?
Pretty good. Ready to crack this open, Todd? We going to go?
Oh, yeah.
What beers do you two have?
We have Bell's Black Note Stout 2014 vintage.
Ooh.
So this is their Expedition Stout blended with their special double cream stout aged in bourbon barrels.
It's like going to the basement tapes.
Oh yeah.
And being sacrilege, pouring it in my Mad Tree glass because I don't have a Bell's glass.
Representing Cincinnati now.
Yo, I put it in a Founder's glass because rivals.
Well,
Hey,
look what glass I got my Oktoberfest in. Just a general glassware glass.
That's a shaker pint.
Okay, just a pint.
You can throw an Oktoberfest in that. No harm in that.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna put a pint in. No.
I'll put stouts in this biatch.
And I got the wheat ale in a Weizen glass, really like a wheat glass, so good shape there.
Mm-hmm.
Just so refreshing. That Oberon is pretty good for sure.
This is really bland for an Oktoberfest.
You get any spice out of it or anything?
None.
None whatsoever.
Nope.
Well, most Oktoberfest Marzen beers are just basically malt bombs for the most part. I mean, that's what they're not spiced or anything. The thing with a lot of Oktoberfest is they are bland. I mean, that's a style. You're supposed to be able to drink all of it. Like all of that, you just drink it all. Just, steins upon steins. So, I mean, a lot of the American versions, most time are bland. Although Sam Adams is pretty good, I'd say, honestly.
Sam Adams Oktoberfest actually is a pleasurable one. I've had that one. I've actually enjoyed that one. And what that one has had to offer.
And it's one that you can actually tell it changes from year to year.
Yeah.
How's the Black Note, Todd? What do you get nose-wise? Seems very subdued to what I've had this beer a couple times more fresh than aged, and feels like it's blended well together. Like it's not like a huge bourbon bomb like I remember it being.
Yeah, I missed out on it in 2016, but from what I can remember this years ago, in 14, I would guess, seemed like the barrel aged or the bourbon was more pronounced.
Yeah, it seems like it's dialed back now.
The nose, I'm getting more sweetness, chocolatey hints on the nose more so right now.
Yeah, lots of chocolate, like dark fruit. Also, little vanilla from the barrel. I'd say if any of the barrels really coming through more vanilla than anything.
Right, I was gonna say I get a little bit of the barrel hint, but not a. I have to dig in there and smell it to get the barrel of it.
Cheers! Let's get into it.
Cheers.
I think it's 11.2%. 11.4. It drinks extremely well.
You're feeling a little bit tonight.
Oh yeah, it's good times.
Starting out light.
It's way more cohesive than I remember it being. That happens with I feel like a lot of bourbon barrel aged beers up front. You get just tons of bourbon, and sometimes they're disjointed where you get like here, where the beer stops and the barrel starts. This being, over 3 years old, has a nice cohesiveness to it. Everything blends together. The barrel's actually subdued enough where you're getting like vanilla, a little bit of the oak, but the actual base beer of the blend of the two, the Expedition and the Special Double Cream, is coming through very nicely. So I think I actually like this just as much as fresh, maybe even more so. Much easier to drink than when it is fresh.
Yeah, I would agree 100% on that. I don't really get much of the barrel of the aging of the barrel bourbon flavor to it much at all anymore.
No, like you were saying on the nose, it's very sweet in the taste. Like it has I'm almost getting like this caramel toffee confectionery sugar sweetness on top of it too. It doesn't taste artificial. It just has like a big sweetness to it from the malts. But this is good, and I'm gonna like it when it's all gone because
I'm getting a little more hints of coffee in mine than I remember it being in the past. I don't know. You?
Well, I'm not getting. I don't know. I don't know if it's coffee or more like just a nice, like almost burnt malt character. But there is a nice roastiness, whether it's coffee or malt related, definitely coming through. Especially on the finish, it feels a little bit.
Yes.
Back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn tasty though. I'm glad we cracked this open. If you guys, anyone out there, can get Bell's Black Note, I mean, it's a special release. They release it once a year, I believe. 2017, maybe already came out, or if not, should be soon. Damn good, especially if you're a fan of bourbon barrel aged beers.
I think 15 is. I don't think they made one in 15, did they? Wasn't that the Planet Series? And I don't think they did one in 15.
They might not have.
Could be wrong on that. But
I'm pretty sure they've done a 17, or it maybe was supposed to come out this year. Maybe it is alternating years. You might be right on that. Might be 2018. Regardless,
yeah,
you want to pick one up. Doesn't matter the year, as long as
they did. But I don't know. I don't
should
know
be
about
great
this year. I hope they do,
Yeah,
because I missed last year, so I'm ready to try a new fresh one.
yeah, for sure. How's that Oberon treating you, Rob?
Oberon is pretty solid. Of course, I've got a review out there on that one too. But I mean, as far as the wheat ales, I'm not a huge wheat person usually, but I like the ones that are more of a pale wheat ale because I like that extra hop bite it has in it. But great mouthfeel, great mouth coating. You get everything in it that you expect to get, but it's got a nice feel that's refreshing. Perfect like beer, like after you're cutting the grass and all that kind of stuff. Perfect beer to just kick back and relax with. So, like I said, it's probably one of my favorite wheat ales that are out there, if not the favorite.
Nice. And you said, Eric,
I can get behind that.
Your Oktoberfest is just bland?
Yeah, I'm not. I can smell the lager yeast that they use in here, but not much else. And on the taste, it's kind of more the same.
Just crushable, not much going on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're right there.
Most Marzens are, too.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But I was hoping for maybe just a tick more, but I wasn't expecting a whole lot with a Marzen.
Yeah. Do you think it's below what you expect from Bell's, though?
Say that one more time, Ron.
That below what you expect from Bell's? Like, you think it could have been better?
Yeah, I think it could have been better, yes.
Yeah. It was hard to hit on
a lot of people on a couple of them, the beer sites and a couple folks on Facebook got it, and they kind of said the same thing. They were hoping there was a little bit more here.
Yeah. So, of course, rocking the new shirt, and Eric, yours will be on the way here shortly. So you should have it by next week.
cheap plug. If you even want to go further, tell people how they can acquire the price point.
I mean, there's a link in the description and stuff, but let's get your beer on. So.
Excuse me.
I'm not going to spam the people.
Spam the shit out of them.
But if you go down below,
you happen to go, you can find it. Yeah.
So went to go get the Bell's beers for tonight's show. I don't know if you guys saw the picture or not earlier, and pleasant surprise. And Todd knows this beer, Zombie Dust. Was at our place here. No limit. $2.25 a bottle.
Wow.
I was gonna say, if you said $2.25,
did you buy the whole cart?
Pack, I was gonna say.
No, I took 6 of them. Dated 9/11, I think 9/10 or 9/11. So really fresh.
Drain pour.
So-
It's got to be like 23 minutes old. I don't know.
So they got some in on Monday at the store. I went to go get it at, and they has got some more in, and I posted on one of the Cincinnati beer groups. It's probably all going now, but Zombie Dust is one of those great beers that you see, you get it, and usually I'd assume like a bottle is usually around 4 or something, maybe. I don't know why they had this extra amount and why they made it more reasonable than some of the other beers you see high price. So it was like, yeah, go ahead and throw that in there.
for that beer, that price point
Yeah.
is that's a Rod J deal, basically, is what that
Oh
is.
yeah, they had the
Yeah.
and they had a 6-pack. I didn't get them of the unfiltered Sculpin, but they had a 6-pack unfiltered Sculpin, $10.99.
Zombie Dust all day, every day. Not messing around with that on filter sculpt when Zombie Dust is present.
That Ice Cube say, "I'll drop my brew."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that is, I cannot."
I'll work on some of those when we do some exchanging.
Yep.
Yeah. I got to
get 'em.
find some more Dreamsicle. I went back to where I got the Dreamsicle at, and it was gone. It was like wiped out already. So I know Joe wants a Dreamsicle in Buffalo too.
Oh yeah, the style itself, which isn't actually a style, but it is kind of a style because a lot of places do it with the orange vanilla with like a Kolsch base or a vanilla or a blonde ale based. I enjoy it because I like orange creamsicles.
Yeah. Who does it, right?
Yeah, I mean they're good. Unless you don't like orange or vanilla, I mean I don't. Or ice cream.
I mean, it's not like it's coconut or anything, right? So
If you need a coconut creamsicle, sign me up right now. Also sign Eric up, even though he doesn't like them.
No, I will scratch my name off.
So the most interested man who was doing the beer commercials, the older guy, and he got replaced with the new guy.
Mhm.
This is probably like how it's the same thing with the Sprint and the Verizon, how the guys switch companies. So the guy that was the previous most interested man is now being featured on tequila commercials.
Wow.
Like he switched over to start pitching tequila for one of the tequila brands, which is kind of interesting. Like, how these guys locked up on contract? Like, Not
I don't like the new guy that does that.
Yeah, you don't like the new one? He's kind of just like.
No, he's not. I don't know. He's not. I don't know. I guess I'm so used to the old.
Doesn't have the
guy
same
that used to
character.
play it.
Yeah, not as distinguished yet, it seems.
What Todd is saying is
that's it exactly.
he is not the most interesting man in the world, is what he's saying.
No. In fact, he might be 5th on this panel.
But we definitely know a lot of interesting characters, that's for sure. But as far as I didn't see a lot of stuff happening as far as beer news that was out there. I don't know if you guys have seen anything else really taking place. I didn't see any buyouts happening. That's been the big thing. We had a debate on Twitter the other day, which was pretty interesting. And that's something we talked about before, is the whole kind of getting into a Brewers Association. Someone that posted a thing about Founders on there. And, I still drink Founders. I still like Founders. But I was saying on there, they're basically, if you go by the Brewers Association, not considered to be a craft beer anymore. And because of the buyout, they're owned 30% by the company out of Spain that's conglomerate or whatever. So we just debated everything. Nobody was attacking anything or like that. We were just kind of the whole situation and, based on taste and preference and, how much power is given over to the Brewers Association type thing. So
is it really considered a buyout at just 30%? Seems like it'd have to be more majority ownership.
Well, if more than 25% is owned by like a major other company outside the industry, then yeah, it's considered to be a macro at that point.
Oh, that's what they got on there. It seems fairly.
But I said, really, what's 5%? If they move the barrels for Sam Adams, they can move it from 25 to 35.
Yeah, they can do a lot of things. I'm just more surprised you actually had a debate, not an argument in this situation.
Oh, no.
A debate usually evolves into an argument after about 20 seconds, more or less.
Joe, I have a lot of mature people that I hang around with. We don't really get into those squabbles.
I don't believe this. I don't believe any of this.
What? Everybody
still
at the
exists?
end of the day, like it, drink it. So everybody just kind of respects and just gives different opinions on stuff.
Which is
Now,
nice.
Facebook gets a little different.
Never.
Twitter's for the grown-ups.
You said it, not me.
But it's like the whole arbitrary type thing. So again, but that's why they're coming up with the independent label, right? So you can slap it on bottles that don't have that over 25% ownership.
Yeah. for
Just
beer news that you might not have seen. I don't know if you saw it, Rod, but for you beer tubers, right, Todd? You and I, beer tubers. No, for the beer tubers actually out there that, I guess.
Wait, you call me a beer tuber?
No, just Todd and I are beer tubers. You and Rod are. I don't know. You guys don't have channels. This is our channel. No, but for you guys,
your channel is through Rod's channel.
yeah, no, it's like a sub channel through Rod's. I like it. No, but you guys like the reference, like Eric references Beer Advocate and a lot of reviews, and you'll do Untapped, Rod. Well, Beer Advocate actually changed their scoring system. Beer Advocate
did. I seen that.
If you go to Beer Advocate and you go to an individual beer, no longer do they have a rating out of 100 for the beer. Now it's a percentage, and instead of saying, say, 85 or whatever for the rating, it'll say 85% liked it. So what they did is anybody who rated the beer, they actually have a cutoff of 3.75 out of 5 of people who rated it, and they take the percentage of people who rated it 3.75 or higher, and that's the percentage you see on the site. They kind of want to simplify it to kind of like a lot of guys, and I know Eric's mentioned before and other people, whether you liked it or not. So they're kind of simplifying it to that instead of like an actual score. They're saying, okay, you come here, 70% of the people liked it. It's not a 70 out of 100. So I thought it was interesting to see like a big reference for a lot of people like that change. It's a pretty drastic change in my opinion. Like they're going from a point system to just a percentage of like. I found it curious. A lot of people seem to like it.
Well, I seen that actually, and I went to one of the big macro style lagers, and they still have how people rated it and how the bros rated it.
For the macros.
Yeah, for the macros.
Well, here it is. Here, this is actually on the other beer that I have.
Yeah, Too Hard.
That's another very good beer, by the way.
Bell's Too Hard Ale. So there you see the 92.7.
Which means 92.7 out of 100 people rated it 3.75 or higher. That's what that basically means.
But the 4.27 is the average from everybody, right?
Yes, is the average out of 5 that people have rated it. Yes. Yeah. So you can still, you can still see it like they have it out of 5, but there is no more 100-point scale. They replaced it with a percentage of like.
Ranking 623. Huh, it is.
Now, would you say that the Two Hearted Ale is the benchmark for IPAs?
It's up there for, I'd say, like one of the classic examples.
I'm just throwing it out there. That's all.
No, I think it's one of the classic solid ones. I think more people have access to it. They're going to get this before they're going to get some of the other ones that are out there. They're kind of the niche type plays.
Yeah.
I think as an overall experience, it delivers everything you will want from an IPA.
From the old school style, which is basically not the New England or the hazy ones.
If you start putting against those other styles, it's going to say, okay, well now it's a little bit dated, right? It's not overly dated. It's not like Newcastle Brown Ale or Guinness Draft. Those are more dated than what this is. This still can compete. It's kind of like George Foreman coming back at 45 and still getting a title shot and winning the belt. It can happen.
Yep. and someone will correct me if I'm wrong, which I am like 92.7% of the time. But I believe Two Hearted is a Centennial only hopped beer. If Founders has Centennial IPA, I believe Two Hearted also is Centennial only. Yeah. Almost positive on that.
Yeah, I believe you're correct on that as well.
Which is amazing that beer tastes as good as it does.
Right here, we talk about bells. I'll pull the website up. So.
Yeah, I have all that ready to go because there's a lot of information. I'm not remembering off the top of the dome piece.
I'll let Joe drive the bus.
How far are you from the Bell's Brewery?
Who, me?
Todd.
Todd's in Indiana.
Is he on northern side of Indiana or no?
I'm as about as south as you can get. I'm just across the Ohio River from Louisville.
All right. Well, I'm only like an hour away. Well, hour and 20 minutes.
But I think it would be probably 6 hours from here.
About the same from here as well.
So do you drink a lot of the Bells up there, Eric?
Yeah, I usually drink all their stuff. Their best brown, which I almost thought about getting, but I've had before, but that one's kind of bland too to me.
Okay.
Just an all right beer. I agree with you on that, Eric.
Yeah. Nothing not really outstanding, but not anything you're just like, ugh.
During the segment, we're going to get to some of everybody's favorite, least favorite, your thoughts about it all. It's going to be good times. I'm excited. I'm excited to break down Bell's.
What do you want to jump in and start breaking down Bells?
That's the breakdown brills, brother.
That's the rules. He says you are in charge, Rod J. You tell us when you want to go into the Bell's Brewery, baby.
Go ahead, break it. Oh yeah, brother.
Okay, for all one person watching, I had two people now, but all right. So Rod can tell me I'm an idiot, and he does a lot because I am. But we're planning on doing a weekly brewery segment where we highlight or spotlight a single brewery. All panel members are going to hopefully have a beer or two from said brewery, and we're going to break it down. So I'm only going to say this once so we don't take up more time in future episodes, but basically brief history of the brewery, the beers they have year-round, seasonal, key specialty beers. Then we're going to see what everyone's drinking on the panel. Then we're going to go to probably everybody's first experience with Bell's, the first time they've had a Bell beer, first time they've heard of Bell's, whatever comes to mind. After that, we're going to go into the most favorited and least favorited beers from each panel member. They can talk about what they've had in the past, what they've liked, disliked, whatnot. After that, we'll go into maybe a beer that they've never had that they wanted to try from a brewery. And then finally, our general thoughts on the brewery as a whole, what we think about it overall, you know, all that good stuff. But we're not going to make it too long, and I'm not going to repeat this in future episodes so we don't have to go back to it. So that's how it's going to go going forward. And today we have what? Bell's Brewery. That's right. And they're out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. What was our 20 minutes away from Eric, Lions fan? Yep, that's right. Michigan. Go Blue, right? So more or less, and I'll just say this, for the history of these breweries, anybody knows how to run the Google machines, am I right? So you can go to Wikipedia or the Bell's website. Bell's website's really awesome. You click on our story, basically a timeline of when they first, well, actually the owner, Larry Bell, first got to Michigan all the way to 2017. So there's a whole timeline. I'll briefly, you know, a few key points, and then we'll move on to the beers available. So basically Larry Bell, in the late 90s, moved to Michigan, attended college there, Kalamazoo College. A few years later, in 1983, he opened his own home brew supply store, and he named it the Kalamazoo Brewing Company. And then a couple years later, he started selling his first commercial beer, which basically was named the Bell's Brewery. That year, they did 135 barrels, and only 3 years later, in 1989, they were shipping up to 500 barrels across the state of Michigan, which is pretty impressive in such a short amount of time. They, 1 year later, in 1990, started distributing beyond Michigan. After that, they opened their Eccentric Cafe in 1993 in Kalamazoo. And it was an on-site brew pub, you know, had all their beers available. In 2001, they actually decided that they couldn't keep up with the demand. They were brewing 7 days a week at the Kalamazoo Brewery, so they decided to open up a new brewery in Comstock, Michigan. And in 2003, they did so. It opened up, and 2 years later, in 2005, they actually had to expand it, which I find crazy that in 2 years they opened up a new brewery, and then 2 years later they had to expand it because to keep up with the demand, which just goes to show you how crazy even 10, 15 years ago with the craft beer boom was back then. You know, I mean, right now it's crazy, but even back then it was. They had a $3 million renovation in 2011 for the Eccentric Cafe, where they had a state-of-the-art music venue installed. They expanded the restrooms, a bunch of awesome stuff. And then in 2012, they had a brand new American-made 200-barrel brew house and an expanded Comstock brewery that officially opened. In 2013, they had a sister brewery open called Upper Hand Brewery. They announced it in 2013, and they actually opened it in the fall of 2014. I don't know if, Eric, you've had anything from Upper Hand, but it's exclusive in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and into northern Wisconsin. Have you had anything from there? Upper Hand?
Not. That one doesn't sound familiar to me.
Yeah, so it's a division of Bell's, but I don't think it says Bell's anywhere actually on it. Maybe like in the small print, but I find that curious. 2014, that same year, they had a canning line started, which is, you see a lot of the Bell's beers now in cans. Yep. That started in 2014. And then in 2015, they did even more to the Eccentric Cafe in Kalamazoo. They full-service restaurant, full-service kitchen, 150-foot square foot kitchen. They just basically went nuts with it. And then they began construction on their 8th brewery expansion in Comstock to make it even bigger, which is insane. They celebrated their 30th anniversary in September of 2015, September 13th to be more specific. Last year, they actually added 7 new states of distribution to Arkansas, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Nebraska, South Dakota, and West Virginia. And they actually completed construction last September on a brand new bottling hall, warehouse space, additional fermentation space, employee care arenas, and logistics centers at their existing location. Laura Bell was promoted to CEO, which I believe is the daughter of Larry Bell, in February of this year. And this year, they actually mentioned that for the first time ever, they're going to be distributing to Texas. So I don't know, I don't know how much Drunken One buys like actual beer off the shelf, but yeah, they're distributing to Texas with New Mexico this fall. So that's basically the story of Bell's. They've come a long way. I know for everyone here, we've been drinking them for a long time, but it's crazy to see how much they blew up, especially in like the late 90s, early 2000s with all the expansions and stuff. So as far as their beers go, their year-round beers are their Amber Ale, which is just an American Amber Ale, their Kalamazoo Stout, which is an American stout that is brewed with Brewer's Licorice. Look it up. Brewer's Licorice. Their Lager of the Lakes, which is a Czech-style Bohemian Pilsner. Their Oarsman Ale, which they refer to as a tart wheat ale, which is basically more or less a Berliner Weiss, which I'm sure we've all had a Berliner Weiss at some point. Their Oatsmobile Ale, which is an American pale ale brewed with oats. Their Porter, which is just an American-style robust porter. Their Third Coast beer, which is different from the Third Coast ale that Rod basically stole from the location in his area a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Third Coast beer is a pallet.
More.
Yeah, it's crazy for that. 50 cents a bottle is insane. I would have bought it all too. But Third Coast beer is a pale ale style, they refer to it as. And then, of course, what we all talked about before, Two Hearted American IPA, classic. I would say that's their flagship beer. Anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, I would say that.
Pretty sure their flagship beer
Two Hearted? Yeah,
pretty much.
I mean, it's the #1 beer chosen nowadays.
Yeah, it is. And
the list that was put out.
The only one's comparable is one I'm about to mention, which a certain individual is drinking right now. But seasonal beers, they have a Best Brown Ale, which is just their American brown ale that Eric referenced. It's all right.
It's all right.
All right.
They also have it's all right. It's like it's here, maybe here. I don't know. It's all right. They're Larry's latest sour ale. This is going to be a new beer that they're releasing in 2018. They call it a kettle soured ale with a dry hop burst. In layman's terms, it's just a dry hopped sour beer. That's all. That's all. A kettle sour. That's all it is. But they haven't released it yet. They say, I believe it is February of 2018. So keep an eye out for that. Their winter white ale. They call it a Belgian style or Belgian inspired.
I do like the winter white ale. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's basically a Vit beer, right? That's what it is. It's a Vit beer.
Wit beer.
It's good. It's a Vit beer. Yeah, it's good. And then the only other one that I think might fight Two Hearted for that flagship name, and that's Oberon. Their American pale wheat ale. The only reason I say that is they every year when it's released, and by every year I mean I think the last 2 years, they actually have what they call an Oberon Day. It's the release date of the beer, which is usually late March, and they have a whole party at the brewery where they release the barrel-aged version, like an adjunct version, a fruited version. So that's the only other beer that I'd say would maybe go head-to-head with Two Hearted, but I still think Two Hearted is probably the best seller.
You forgot one.
Which one?
Because Two Hearted, as we talked about, is kind of becoming almost their dated one. Hot Slam's the one taking over now.
That's a specially released, though. So I was going to get to that.
Hold on.
Now, hold on. That's true. Hop Slam is very popular.
Is Oberon not considered a special release?
Seasonal. So I will mention the calendar real quick.
Oh, true. Yeah.
The calendar that they have for the brands, basically, they only have, they say they have 4 seasonals. This is their seasonal beers, which is crazy. Best Brown Ale, which comes out September, October. And then I believe it's the winter ale that's November, December. And then that the latest sour ale, the dry hop sour, I believe is going to be February, March. They skipped January, so I guess people are just drinking the winter ale still. And then from all the way from March to August is Oberon. So it's 6 months seasonal for Oberon that consists of spring and summer. So it's not like your typical 4 beers for 4 beers, 4 seasons. They actually have 4 beers, but basically they're doing like 3 seasons. It's really weird how they do it. But Oberon sells for 6 months out of the year, which is, again, because I think it's so popular and so many people drink it. So, that's basically it for their year-round and seasonal ones. Now, they're specialty beers, which usually come out in certain months or rotating bi-yearly, whatever. Expedition Stout, the Russian Imperial Stout. I actually have a 2013 version in the fridge. I've had it multiple times. How about you guys? You guys have Expedition?
Oh, outstanding.
Awesome Russian Imperial Stout. It's fantastic.
I probably say
very
almost
good,
to the
very
local
good.
class level.
Yep, for sure. Oktoberfest beer, which Eric's drinking tonight. They don't actually consider that a seasonal. They call it a specialty, but again, it's kind of a seasonal, right? It's Oktoberfest season. It's bland. There's special double cream stout, which is their cream/sweet stout. It's made with 10 malts, and it's pretty solid. But
I like that one. That's a good one.
Oh boy, we got a hater of Bell's, and he lives in Michigan. What is happening?
Yeah.
I think that one's got a nice little flavor to it. I'm not going to say something to be over. I mean, I had like a 3.5 out of 5 on that one, but 3 is a good level for me. You know, very good would be 4, so it's in between.
I would give it 3.75 out of 5 just so I say I like it on Beer Advocate.
Yeah.
Another one is Black Note Stout, which we're drinking this evening, which is, again, their aforementioned Expedition Stout and Specialty Cream Stout, blended, aged in bourbon barrels. Fantastic beer. Very hard to get, though. It's limited. It's people don't wait in line, but, you know, it's like one of the one per customer type at most places, unless you buy it at the brewery or whatever. Very good beer, though. I mean, it's amazing. Their Cherry Stout, which is their American Stout brewed with cherry juice. I've had that plenty of times. Good beer if you want a fruited stout. It's pretty solid. Their Christmas Ale, which you would think that'd be a seasonal, but maybe not. Specialty.
Christmas Ale should be out now, right? I mean, everything else is out ahead of time.
Probably in tomorrow.
It's coming.
And of course, what Rod mentioned, the Hop Slam Ale, which is their double IPA brewed with honey. It's a good beer. It might be a little bit overhyped nowadays, and it's expensive. It's like $20 6-pack in my area, but you know, it's pricey. It's a pricey beer. It's good though. I actually have a 2014 in my fridge right now for science. So,
I realize. I think I've only had that on draft because that's usually at beer festivals when I have that one.
it's
I don't think I've ever had it in a bottle.
If you see it this year, pick it up, give it a review, Rod. I'd be curious to see what you think.
Do you know if their Mars beer is going to become a regular?
I don't know.
And you know, like a yearly beer. Have you ever had their Mars beer?
Yes, I've had their Mars beer before.
Right now, their Mars is being shown for.
They're in the retired section, which I'm not going to read, like the Larry whatever it's beers that they've had before, like their 30th anniversary beer and all that stuff. I don't know if they're bringing that back out. I mean, you could definitely see re-releases of a lot of those.
They had it in the Planet Series, and then they came back out with it last year.
Yeah. It might be one that
Which is why I was wondering.
Yeah, that might be one that they just bring back. The last one of the specialty beers that I think is worthwhile to mention is the Third Coast Old Ale, which is American style barley wine or old ale that, you know, Rod gets 50 cents a bottle. You know, no big deal or anything.
Don't hate.
Not a little bit. So yeah, on their website, specifically Todd, and their library of beers, they have the 30th anniversary, their batch numbers. They have all from the Mars series, Jupiter, Mercury, Neptune, Saturn. But I do not see Mars. You're correct. So I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I see it here. It's on the Aprils where I see it at, but
yeah, on the release calendar is April. So they must have misplaced it on the website as like where they're going to place it, unless it's on. Might be in the specialty section. Maybe I missed it.
Their release calendar is goofy, right? So they got all the stuff here. They put the months over here.
Yeah, they are struggling. Oh yeah, Mars is on their specialty, so they're double IPA.
Your
so
webmaster that you
okay.
that shit.
It's a very pretty website, but
there's errors, there's issues.
Yeah, there's some issues.
Cool.
But yeah, that really is it for their releases. The other thing, like we talked about Oberon, and also the one thing is Two Hearted. Zymergy magazine, which is a homebrew magazine this year, named by name, they actually
what was that, homebrewers poll or whatever? Or?
It was a homebrewer magazine, Zymergy, that polled all their readers, and they tallied the votes for whoever voted from reading their magazine. And of the top ranked beers, according to this magazine and the readers from this magazine, Two Hearted was named the best beer of 2017 for them.
Yeah, Pliny.
Yeah, it took down Pliny the Elder. Founder's Breakfast Stout was 3. Floyd's Zombie Dust was 4, and Bell's Hop Slam was 5. So two Bells in the top 5, right? Must be a lot of Michigan guys homebrewing. Yeah, that really covers the history. Again, if you really want to check out the history of Bells, you want to know more, go to the website. It does well when they're not doing availability calendar. But if you go to their website and click on our story, they have an awesome timeline. You can scroll through, it has everything, or go to Wikipedia and get like 75% correct information. Either way, you'll find out what's going on. But now the next segment we move into is everybody's first experience with the brewery. We'll start with Eric, since he's from Michigan, and I imagine had an experience with the brewery quite a long time ago.
Yeah, I think mine was the Two Hearted Ale, and that's when I kind of first started doing the beer review sort of stuff on my channel, when it was really kind of a mix of sports and beer. I had it at first, and I was just like, wow, this is just the hoppiest thing I've ever had. This sucks, coming from a background of drinking Miller Lite, Bud Light, Coors Light, that sort of thing. And it just kind of pushed me away. I mean, I hadn't came back to Bell's for a while, but now that my palate's changed and I've started appreciating IPAs more, I really do enjoy Two Hearted Ale more than any other beer. Don't get me wrong, the Expedition Stout is a solid beer, but I always kind of go back to the Two Hearted only because of its availability here in Michigan. It's everywhere here.
Do you remember the first year you experienced Bell's? Like the first year you had it? Could you?
I think it was during my beer review time. Most of the time, I drank Bud Miller Coors.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So relatively in the last couple of years.
Yeah, within the last 2 years.
Cool.
So pretty recent.
Yeah. How about you, Rod? What was your first experience with Bell's?
I believe it was one that you can't even get anymore now, and which is a shame because it's really good. Because not even on their website. It was the Java Stout back in 20.
It is. It's retired on there in the library. It is. I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
One of the best stouts I think I've had. Real nice, real creamy, real chocolate, delicious. It was almost like drinking a milkshake. No. Funny thing is, that's when I got on the deal too. So I still remember because
that's expected.
They were selling it. They were selling it for like $16 or $17 for 4-packs usually. And a place I ended up getting it at, they had like $9 off of it because they were getting rid of them. It was really good. But the Java Stout was probably the first one I actually had from Bell's and was well worth it.
What year was that?
I wish I would have bought it more. Back in 2014.
So again, last 3 years.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Todd? First experiences with any Bell's products?
Mine was, I'd say 7, 8, 9 years ago. Hell, I can't remember what the exact year now, but it was at a beer fest. It was at a beer festival.
You're a millennial. You weren't even allowed to drink.
Right?
He was sneaking it.
I was sneaking around when I just turned 16, and no. Probably 8 years ago, roughly, it was at a beer festival. We were at the zoo in Louisville, and it was the best brown ale.
Nice. That's crazy. That's the first one, but because it's a seasonal, according to their.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was at the beer festival. Well, it would have been. Let's see. That's usually in. That ain't been out yet. Then, pretty sure that's where I had it at though.
Yeah, it's been out for a long time, I'd imagine. My first experience, I started drinking craft beer about the same thing like Todd 8-9 years ago, but we didn't get Bell's. They didn't distribute to New York until 2013, the fall of 2013. When all their entire year-round lineup came out, I got everything. Got Two Hearted, and Java Stout did actually show up. The Cherry Stout, the special crease.
Cherry Stout's another one that's really good too. Yeah.
Two Hearted, one of the first 4 or 5 IPAs that I actually liked, period, ever. Which is and to this day, I think it's an extremely well made, awesome for the style, and I still occasionally buy it, and I still like it as much as I originally did. So, yeah, I mean, we're all kind of in the same place aside from Todd, trying it around 2013, 14, 15. So they've been around for a long time, but again, their distribution footprint wasn't extended until the 2000s. So unless you live in Michigan, you probably didn't start drinking it until somewhere in the mid 2000s. But all right, so. We'll go with Todd first. What is your favorite beer from Bell's, or some of your favorite beers? You can have more than one, and least favorite of what you've had over the years.
My favorite, I'd say, probably hands down, is Two Hearted Ale. My least favorite of theirs, I wasn't a big fan of their Smitten Golden Rye beer. I don't know if either anybody's had that or not.
Nope, I've had that.
I've had that one. I thought that one was okay.
I'd say
It was
for me that might be at the bottom of the list there, but Two Hearted Ale, it's actually probably, I would say, my go-to beer if I'm out at a restaurant or somewhere, because it is so readily available now that you can.
There it is, Ron. There's what he's talking about.
Beer, you know, they'll have it on tap. So not to buy it in the stores, but I do if I'm out somewhere, and that's usually the best option that you have. I go to that.
Can't go wrong with the Two Hearted Ale, that's for sure.
You can. And to segue into that, Rod, same question? Favorite, least favorite?
Man. Yeah, I'm kind of looking through some of the stuff I've had here. Obviously, Java Stout was probably my favorite, or one of the favorites. Can't get it anymore. Support some out, but I'm not pouring out any Two Hearted right now. There was one I actually had from that. I don't think it's offered anymore. It was called Le Contra Basset or Basset. It was a sours beer they had. It was a beer de garde. I don't think it's available now, but I actually like that one. That's when I was first starting to get into some of the sours. Hop Slam, obviously, I like that one there. So that'd be one of the key beers I like with them. Oberon, I mentioned that. Oberon's easily my favorite wheat ale out there. And I like that winter white ale. I like that wit beer. I like that feel of it. The funny thing, like Two Hearted, I like Two Hearted, but it's probably down on the list a little bit from my favorite with them. And just in general, like if I have my favorite IPAs out there, for me, even though they got on that list as number one, I don't know if that's the number one IPA for me out there with some of the other ones that are out there. It's definitely in the conversation. It's like, who's the best running back of all time, right? You're always like, well, someone will say Barry Sanders, someone will say Jim Brown, someone will say Walter Payton. Yeah. All of them got worthy arguments, so it's kind of hard to say which one for sure. But
it's where the personal opinion and personal feelings come into play, because that's what this is all about for the most part.
Right, or who you may have grown up with. You grew up watching more Barry Sanders than Jim Brown. That's going to stick a little bit closer to you as well. So I think those are kind of the decent ones that I kind of like. The Kalamazoo Stout, I like that one up there as well. I think that one delivers nicely too. So,
how about your least favorite? Any that stick out like a sore thumb?
As far as the least favorite, I'm not a huge lager person, but I'll drink it. Like Lager of the Lakes, I think is okay. That it can go down easily. It's a Pilsner from them, so that's one that you could drink relatively easy. On the fence with Oats from Beal Ale, I've had it a few times. I think it's kind of okay as a pale ale, but it's not anything to really write home about. The Oktoberfest I've had before, that was kind of like I gave it like a 3 out of 5. I thought it was good for what it delivered. It had everything in it, but it didn't move the needle really. Not that I don't think I found anything that was really hard, really disappointing, that it was kind of like I would never want to drink this one again. I know you guys mentioned the Best Brown, but I actually found the Best Brown to be a pleasant beer when I had it. Now I haven't had it in probably over a year, but I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if they changed the formula or anything on it. But yeah, if I had to choose probably the lowest of them all, probably would be like that Oktoberfest beer. Again, that's not a lager though.
Yeah. All right, Eric, same question.
Kind of like what everybody else said here. Their Oktoberfest beer, or not the Oktoberfest, excuse me. The Oberon beer is really, really good. That's kind of one that I go to during the summertime. I think that's probably the best wheat ale out there. I do like their Expedition Stout and their Two Hearted. I think those are probably some of the best beers that they make at the brewery, and probably one of the worst ones. And you guys seem to like them, but I don't like their winter ale. I just
you don't like
every time I've had it, it's just
not for you.
No,
it might be the style too, that whip beer. Maybe you're just not a fan of the style.
Well, that's why it comes down to personal opinion in this. I mean, if we start debating like what's right, what's well made in the style or whatever, that's a whole nother segment. But like just
Lager of
personal
the Lakes,
opinion,
I didn't care for either.
You don't like the Lager of the Lakes either. I can see that.
Well, I was gonna say there's one I keep passing over that I want to try at some point. I just haven't picked up with the Oracle. I don't know if you guys have had that one or not.
I've had it, and that's a good segue into the next one. Yeah, that's great.
But before we go into that, has anybody had the Tequanamon Falls lager? Is it a lager?
I don't think I've had.
Tequila Falls. I think I've had that one.
Pretty sure it's just their lager. It's like an easygoing.
I have not had that.
Yeah,
one.
I've had that as an IPL lager. That's an Indian.
Yeah, it's an IPL.
One of those styles that doesn't exist.
Totally exists now, though. I think BJCP might actually.
No, I'm just teasing.
Recognize it.
There's a few IPLs out there now. I think they do have this.
Yeah.
But it's a hoppy lager, which I do like that one. I thought it was pretty good.
I've never
had
tried
it in a while, but yeah, I thought it was pretty good when I had it last year.
Give it a go, Eric. There's no harm when you see it next time. Just give it a go. I mean, you're not going to get the Rod like 69 cents a bottle deal, but it's going to be pretty good.
He's right there. You might get it.
Yeah, he might. You might get it for free. Who knows? Maybe Bells is watching this. Maybe they're not. But either way,
maybe they say, Eric, you're not getting any.
Yeah.
You gotta buy it.
You hate our brown ale at Marsden? No beer for you.
Yeah, no beer for you.
I'm pretty much the same with you guys when it comes to Two Hearted. Aside from Rod, you guys both I say like it's a go-to for me. I'll always I don't really have many go-to beers because there's so many beers available. I'm always trying new ones, but if I had to, like, gun to my head and was like, so who's your goat? Like, it would be in there, top 5 for me, period. Expedition, as Eric mentioned, awesome Russian Imperial Stout. This is probably in the top 3 for me from Bell's in terms of, I mean, again, it's a specialty. It's harder to get. It's not like I have tons of bottles or anything, but every time that's released, if I see it, I will buy a bottle of it because it is a great beer. I also like Hop Slam quite a bit. It is a bit expensive and drink it relatively fresh because I've aged a couple and had them over the last couple of years. They turn into more so like an American style barley wine, very like
you get more malty, yeah.
Orange marmalade. They're good. It's really good aged, but it's no longer an IPA of any sort. No double.
People are cursing you now for not drinking it fresh. Though.
Yeah, I have a 2014 in the fridge, so I'm totally gonna just age it another couple of years because it's my $3 I spent. But as far as I'll do what I want. As far as least favorite, though, I will honestly say for me, it's Oberon. And the reason for it is, like Rod was saying, stylistically, not a huge fan of American Pale Wheat Ales. Maybe my favorite might be Gumball Head from Three Floyds, but even that's like pushing. I give it like a 3.75 is like the favorite for me in the style.
So you like
but I can like a beer in style, but like I don't like the style in general, and I don't feel Oberon like kind of separates itself for me. I get why people drink it though, much like Martins and other styles that I don't personally care for. I get why people like them, but for me, Oberon just kind of a miss. Nothing wrong with it at all. Like I can drink it, but it's just nothing. Like people go nuts about it, just buy cases upon cases, and Oberon Day is a big celebration. And I'm like, okay, I mean, if that's what you like, you have a great time, right? I mean, who might argue?
I mean, it just goes down so easy, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a crushable beer, and that's what people want in the spring and summertime, right? Something that you know, it could be a mower beer, it can be a watch the game and crush 3 or 4 of them beer, and you're not getting hammered because it's low ABV. I get the allure of it. For me, though, it's not one of my favorite. But the worst beer I've ever had, and I don't know if Todd you've had it, but you guys remember the Planet series, which we talked about earlier? They had a beer called whatever because there's planets, but Venus, and
that's one of Larry's specialties here, Larry's library.
It is in there. Venus.
Yeah, Venus is on there, the bringer of peace.
It was apricots and cardamom and all this other. It was
vanilla beans.
It was disgusting. For me, it was disgusting.
Maybe that should.
That one I think was. That one I think is the one that you opened up and it tasted like rotten bologna or something. I don't know. It was bad.
I believe my check-in on Untapped was something. I'll read it right now. It said, "Is this beer? Way too sweet. Tasted like an overly spiced glass of apricot juice. Passable, but never again. Never again." I was upset about it.
You put it in all caps.
Yeah, in all caps. I was very. I actually liked their Planet series. Most of them were pretty good, but that one, it was just not for me, to say the least.
Actually, I think it was the Mercury beer, and that one was awful. Not that one. Did you have the Mercury beer?
I don't remember.
That was the one that tasted like Vienna sausage in a can, bottled, juicy. It was awful.
No, it was one of the few I didn't get. It was the Belgian Pale Ale. No, yeah. Glad, because the Venus was basically like a fruit beer beyond fruit beers, but with like weird spices like cardamom and something, and a couple other herbs in there with the vanilla, with apricots, a blonde ale base. I'm just like, this is just not for me. But it's probably though of like I think on tap I've checked in like 20 something beers. that is the only beer that I would honestly say that I didn't care for from Bell's. Like I did not like. And that says a lot for them, for me, when you're talking 20 plus beers and one of them is for me is like, I don't really care for it. And the rest are pretty decent at the very least. So I think a lot of their beers are well made and in the style they're good, but it's all, to personal taste, right? So you're not going to love everything.
One that I found interesting with them is their Oberon. They did a mango habanero one year.
They did a barrel aged version.
Yeah,
too.
they did. I didn't have that one, but I remember it.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't get that one either.
I think I'd rather try the mango habanero than the barrel aged version, though, because I don't think that beer would barrel age all that well. But who am I?
No, it was good though. And there was one. I don't think they make this one either anymore. It was Consecrator Doppelbock.
I had that. It was really good.
Yeah, that was a really good Doppelbock they had done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a really well made one, I thought. The last little part of the segment before we finish up with final thoughts is any beers that you guys want to try from them. Anything we've talked about tonight. Anything you've seen on the shelf and just said, maybe too expensive, not in the right mindset. Eric, anything?
I want to try the Hop Slam, but it's that I'll go right to your point. It's just too expensive. I'm not going to pay that for a double IPA. I'll drink the Two Hearted before I drink that. Gotcha.
How about you, Rob?
Well, I still haven't done their Roundhouse, although it doesn't really motivate. I'm not really motivated to really try it. The one I mentioned was like Oracle. I do want to try that one because I keep walking by and leaving it half the time.
That's a good one.
It is. I would definitely recommend it, no doubt.
Some people are talking about the Pool Time Ale, but it's a wheat ale, but it has cherries. I haven't tried that one yet. I might take a look at that. They do have a Kalamazoo IPA, like a specialty beer, kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I think those kind of, well, you know what? They do have the mead honey wine away from the beer a little bit. I would like to try that one if I can find it. That's a specialty as well. That's probably something only around Eric's area because it's probably like something they keep in Michigan.
Yeah, probably.
Probably more towards the Kalamazoo area more than here.
And then they have a Hell Hath No Fury, which is a Belgian-inspired dark ale. You know I love my Belgians. I love my Belgians.
Oh yeah, he would have loved Mercury then. Todd, Belgian Pale Ale. He would have said it didn't taste like throw up and blown.
Yeah. No, I think there was something wrong with that one. It just wasn't good.
Yeah.
Because I like Belgian beers too, but I don't know.
You think it was infected?
I just had a bad bottle of it. And it didn't explode on you or anything, but it just wasn't. I don't know. To maybe stomach again just to try to see if it was just a bad one or something.
And for some reason, I haven't had the Kalamazoo. I must have missed it somewhere. So that's one I definitely want to check out.
Yeah, just from
not Kalamazoo Expedition. I've had Kalamazoo.
Oh, you gotta get on that.
You gotta get Expedition stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it down here in a while. So
don't be effing around. You gotta get that ASAP. You gotta get on that.
Yeah, I think it just hit our shelves. Here within the last week or so.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Todd? Anything you're looking forward to trying from them that you've heard about, seen, just haven't picked up?
I would like to try that Hell Hath No Fury. I would like to try that one. I've not seen it that I know of, or if I have, I just haven't paid attention to it, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
That's a problem with a lot of these specialty beers. They don't, unless you click on them individually, I don't think they mention if it's like brewery only, draft only, packaging or anything. Right. So some of these might be only brewery only or just draft releases. I know they do some of them and have for a while before they actually bottle them. So it could be one of those cases.
I've had pretty much everything that they distro for the most part. Oberon, Hop Slam, obviously the Two Hearted Ale, Expedition Stout. I've had all those and they're all great. They're all great beers.
Well, here's the thing with the Hell Hath No Fury. It looks like it's out in September. So this is the month to be looking for it.
Yeah,
okay.
If it shows up, get on it. Just to finish up the segment for me, the only thing I've seen on their site or in general would be their Bourbon Barrel Age Expedition Stout because I love the Expedition Stout so much. I am curious to see how the bourbon barrels will stand up. Yeah, just because I think that is a beer that would probably age well in bourbon barrels. It has enough viscosity to the body and enough intense flavors where I don't think it would mellow it out where you kind of, so many places will take their base stout or base porter or base beer in general and just be like, oh, we're going to throw it in barrels. And then they throw it in barrels for 6 months, a year, and then the barrel just takes over. I feel that beer would hold up extremely well to an extended period of time in a barrel. So very curious. I think that's probably draft only releases. So if I ever see it on draft, I'm on it.
Pull up a stool.
That's right. Should we go to comments first or general thought? We should probably go to comments and then wrap it up. Does that sound good? Should I read all comments or just comments pertaining to this? Rob.
You however you want, buddy.
You're the censor.
Well, Backwoods Billy Craft Beer Reviews. I don't want to omit him. He's talking. He said he's going to a couple beer festivals. This Saturday, one in Chinco Teague Island, Virginia, one in Bethany Beach, Delaware, over 1.5 hours apart. Additionally, we have been to 2 other beer fests this month. Drunken One says, can't wait to see what it's about. Just walk back in. Where's Lance? Lance is Backwoods Billy Craft Beers Cates with the Shore Craft Beer Festivals are awesome. He also said nice beer list. I imagine talking about Bell's. He says Oktoberfest beers are awesome. He also loves pumpkin ales, especially Heavy Seas barrel aged version. The Dogfish Head Brewing Company, a beautiful beer and a perfect example in accordance with the BJCP style, because Backwoods is all about that BJCP. Nothing wrong with that. He likes drinking stuff according to the style. He also goes Dogfish Head Brewing Company's worldwide barrel-aged stout, Heavy Seas, Siren Norar, which is, I think they're like chocolate and coffee aged in barrels. He also says Goose Island Bourbon barrel-aged stouts. Must have been some limited stout drinkers. He also says Young's Double Chocolate Stout. He's listing stuff off now. He says Old Rasputin, Russian Imperial Stout, Evolution Craft Brewing Company's IRS Stout. Bum from the PA area from Joe D shows on here. Yeah, shout out to you, Bum. Also Backwoods and Drunken One, everybody here. He says, I have a lot of Old Bell's bottle picks checked in and untapped. Look under Mark space A space Bum, including batch 7,000, batch 8,000, and some with the Old Kalamazoo Brewing designation. That's pretty cool. Again, Bell's did a lot of the batch. I think they started, I don't know if they started with 1,000, but I think they went up to all the way batch 10,000 with their beers, which I thought was cool. But I don't know if they're doing a batch 11,000 or 12,000 or if they just stopped. Backwoods also says beer festivals are great for trying out new beer releases and new breweries. I would agree with that. Bum also says he still has 1 bottle of Bell's 30th anniversary ale chilling in my fridge. Guess what, Bum? Do a review, baby, because it's in my fridge right now, too. Yeah! Let's go, Bum! Hop on! We'll drink the shit out of it right now. Backwoods says first craft beer was in mid-1980s, 1986, I believe, Sissons in Federal Hill, Baltimore, which became Clipper City Brewing Company, which then became the parent company, or then it became the parent company when they were named to Heavy Seas Craft Brewer. He says, in his opinion, Bell's Belgian White Ale is on par with Shock Top Belgian White Ale. Shock Top Belgian White Ale, though, is 16 ounces for $1, which is a way better value. He also says he capitalizes, too, because this is emphasizing this for you specifically, Rod, or me, maybe, probably me. But he says, BJCP recognizes IPL.
Louis energetic, yeah.
But he's like I said, it does recognize IPLs. I think.
He's one of the BJCP.
Yeah, he likes the BJCP. Like I said, nothing wrong with that. It's cool. Everybody likes doing it to BJCP or not or whatever. It does teach you a lot though. Like if you want to go, what styles are about, definitely it's a great resource. Go check it out if you're unfamiliar, especially with styles, because hey, every little piece of knowledge helps. Especially if you're a beer tuber and someone reviewing and you want to know what each style brings to the table or should bring to the table. Billy continues with Dominion Brewing Company's Barrel Aged Stout. He also says Goose Island Bourbon Barrel Aged Stouts won a ton of awards. Yes, the Goose Island Bourbon County is huge. Paul for BA Brew News, good friend of ours, a friend of the show, friend of everybody here. He says something very appropriate, which I'd imagine 92.7% of the people out there agree with. He says, I disagree with everything Joe says. He says he's also at work, but link me on Facebook Messenger and I will join when the coast is clear. You're not allowed in here anymore, by the way. He says, you mean Noir. I do mean Noir. I do. When you were talking about Heavy Seas, Siren Noir. Backwoods also says, just comparing all those beers to the Bell Stout, like the black note. He was talking about all the barrel aged in reference to this. And P.A. Bruno says, I have a few of the 30th anniversary as well, just not in my fucking fridge, because he drinks everything about 105 degrees or so.
A slow bubble.
And Backwoods says he believes the ones he mentioned are better. I don't know if he means they're better than the Black Note. Have you had the Black Note, though, Billy? If you haven't, I mean, I've had all the ones you've mentioned, honestly. I think Goose Island Bourbon County is better than Bell's Black Note. By how much? It's a very small margin, in my opinion. I don't know, Todd, if you had Bourbon County before, I'd imagine you have.
Oh yeah, I have, and it's hit and miss from year to year. Sometimes it's almost too sweet for me
Bourbon
to even
County
stomach.
back when I had it, it was good, but it wasn't great like people were trying to say it was.
See,
I would put Black Note ahead of it, in my opinion.
I think it's like with you. It depends on the year. There's a couple that I think is just amazing from Bourbon County, and a couple that were just good, but definitely, I think this is extremely well made for two. Like again, when you're talking about Bourbon County, you're talking about a beer that more or less is the base beer is brewed to go into barrels. Like that's what they do. They brew the base imperial stout specifically to age in barrels for a year. This is just a blend of expedition and the cream stout thrown into barrels. I think that's pretty cool, honestly. I think that's a cool way of. They say they take the best of like both expedition and special cream stout. Maybe they take the like a recipe and then just bump it up because it is 11.4. But I mean, that's a lot harder to do than I think just taking a beer specifically to make it in barrels. But to each their own. And I mean, you get 10 people on this panel, 10 people in the comments, talk about KBS, Bourbon County, this beer, run the whole nine, and everyone's gonna have a different opinion because we all have different tastes, right? I think they're all extremely brewed well, though.
Would you put KBS over Bourbon County?
No, I think Bourbon County's better for me.
Better than KBS. Yeah.
Two different beers, though.
KBS has been hit and miss too, I think, in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And KBS
I don't think
adjunct.
it's as good as it once was.
And KBS is different. It has coffee and chocolate. You got to remember, it has two adjuncts thrown in there too, so it's not exactly the same.
I'm just thinking of beers that are hyped up and not living up to the hype. Those are like two of them for me.
So Billy says he's had the Black Note, and he still prefers the other ones more so this one. That's cool. What do you say? He also talks about free app on Apple and Google for the BJCP. Style guidelines are free. Okay. Yeah, it's a good tool. Like I said, it's a good tool for everyone trying to learn the different styles and understand. You go into a beer review and you're drinking, say, a Vit beer, and you know what it should taste like, then you'll know off flavors. You'll know if it's brewed well or brewed not. But you don't have to do it. But at the same time, I think knowledge is power, right, Rod? Knowledge is power.
That's right.
That's right. All right. Finish up the segment. Was long, but I think it was a good time. Final thoughts on Bell's. Todd, any final thoughts? What do you think overall as a brewery? How do you feel Bell's is overall? Good, bad, indifferent?
I think Bell's is solid. I don't think they do anything like over the top. I mean, they do have some of their specialty stuff like Black Note and Hop Slam or whatever that I think are outstanding beer. Their flagship, you might say, their distro beers that we'll find most of the where they're actually located. I think all their stuff is pretty good. I mean, it's not anything I would say is out over the top and outrageous, which most people are seeking these days. But for a good, solid brewery, I think they do good stuff. I do like Bell's. I'm a fan of Bell's.
Sweet. How about you over there, Eric, in Michigan, the home state?
I agree with Todd. I mean, they're a solid brewery. Every brewery is going to have hits and misses. I think they have more hits than they have misses. That's why I give them a very, a solid, from a brewery standpoint, it's very solid, more consistent, all that sort of thing. So I like them. I most of the stuff I've had from them has been at least decent to above. I like them. I mean, I can't say anything bad about Bell's.
Nice. Rod?
I would agree.
I think from a overall standpoint as a brewery and across the board and what they have to offer for the people there, they do a really good job. I think that they do decent with their beers. They have a couple that may not be as great, but they have a couple that are phenomenal or close to phenomenal type things. So they kind of balance out. I don't think you can get disappointed. Like if you went to their brewery, I think you'd always find something that you can drink. They're kind of similar to what we have here, like with Mad Tree. They've proven themselves with a lot of their different beers. So, if I was going to rate them, which I'm not a huge fan of ratings, as you know, but if I was going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd probably put them at a 4.5. I think they're pretty solid. There's nothing that's phenomenal. I mean, as far as they don't have enough phenomenal type stuff that kind of throws me to say, okay, these are all like up to this next level and everything. But they always try to keep up with some different things and make it refreshing. So I think they definitely deliver a good package overall.
Would you say they're a good brewery for somebody that's kind of dipping their toes in the water of drinking craft beers and say, drink the Bell's because it's nothing over the top, but it's solid. You know what I mean? Like just a good kind of starter, not really starter. I don't want to say that because it's beyond starter. Like,
yeah, but if you had somebody that didn't know really craft beer, you want to take them to a brewery, I think you could do a good job with Bell's and what they had to offer and find something they would actually like, something they can try to start going into the craft beer world from.
Right, that's what I mean. That's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, they have their lighter type beers when you look at some of their stuff. I mean, even like their ales, their lagers, their IPAs. You know, it's hard for some people to jump right into an IPA, so you could get them in with Lager of the Lakes and get that in as a lager for them to start with, and then kind of start building up from that point. And they can get into like that India Pale Lager or something like that down the line. So they can easily build up. You know, you can be like your starter kit brewery for someone that's looking to get over from macro into craft beer. If you go to some places, they're all so deep in craft. There's nothing for a person to make that adjustment sometimes. And you don't have that problem else.
I totally, to finish up for me, I totally agree with what Rod just said and most of what you guys said as well. I mean, here's the thing about Bell's. When we were first getting into craft beer, even a couple of years ago, you know, like Eric saying he had Bell's for the first time 2 years ago, they still had shine on them. There was still not hype, but they were still highly regarded as like being like a hardcore craft beer nerd, like one of the better breweries. And over the last couple of years, hype abound across the craft beer world with all these New England style and barrel aged and sours and everything. And a lot of breweries like Bell's and Dogfish Head and Founders and Stone, and all these breweries, they make great beer. They really do. They well-made beer. They run the gauntlet when it comes to styles. They do so many styles. What you were talking about, Todd, I think if you first get into craft beer, Bell's is you could, like kind of like I did in 2013. If their year-round stuff shows up, try everything because you'll get to try 8 different styles of beers just from the year-round availability of the beers that are available. And they're well-made. They're good. And you'll get an idea of what to expect from a style. You get the idea what to expect from Bell's. But over the last couple of years, the shine has worn off a little bit for them, for a lot of hardcore people. And I think they get kind of a little bit of a bad rap. I mean, I talked about Hop Slam being, $18 to $20 a six-pack. People are paying that for 4 packs of, tall boys of these, hype New England style beers, which granted, if you like that style, you're more in line to buy that other than the Hop Slam, which isn't in this style. But if you're talking about an $18 to $20 six-pack compared to an $18 24-pack, even when they're tall boys, it's comparable. And it is a 10% beer, Hop Slam, and I'll be the first to admit it's expensive. Why? Because the shine has worn off. It's an easier beer to get. It shows up. You can get it. So it's hard to go pay $3, $4 for a bottle on the shelf that you can get anytime. It's kind of one of those things where if there's hype or you're excited, you're more often than not going to purchase that beer regardless of price. But they do so many beers well. A lot of their specialty and rotating releases are very, very good. And I feel they get kind of a bad rap nowadays, but I think across the board, they make pretty damn good beer. I'm not going 4 out of 5 out of 5 like Rod over here. That's crazy. No, but they make good beer, and I totally in the 4 range for me as a brewery. They make good beer. If you've never had Bell's, if they show up, if you're in New Mexico, if someone's watching from New Mexico, I don't know. I know.
New Mexico don't get Bell's? Or
no, no, they don't. Texas just got it this year. Drunken one. Get some Bell's, drunken one. Come on. But if like Joe D, I don't know how many beers Joe D has had because he used to live in New Mexico. Now he's in Arizona. Yeah. But once it shows up around there, get on it, man. Try them out. They're worth the go. It's the same as if, Dogfish Head showed up in your area or Founders or something. They're worth, even in this day and age, to give them a go because they do make good beer. They're not shiny. They're not the new kid on the block, but they know what the fuck they're doing. So.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a downside sometimes in craft beer industry is guys like a Bell's or even a Schlafly or whatever. They kind of get shuffled to the back, even though they were kind of at the forefront before anybody even really understood or even knew what craft beer was. And now, like you said, they're the old guys on the block, and they're not the new toy. They're not the new toy or style of the week. So it's like, whatever. They're not good, So people almost automatically think that they're not good.
Yeah, they were making good beer before good beer was like super popular. Even, I've seen the shift of the craft beer industry in the last even 5 years, 2012, 13. Like when Bell showed up here, people were so excited. Now, so much of their stuff just sits on the shelves. And it's crazy just to see how far we've come. But They kind of get that bad. I hate to keep saying a bad rap or a bad reputation.
Backseat, maybe.
Yeah, they're just getting kind of pushed aside, like Todd was saying, and you too, Eric. Like they're just getting pushed aside for the new kids on the block, and it's like it's unfortunate to see because they do make good beer, but when all these New England style and dry hop sours and barrel aged this and barrel aged that, when they're at the forefront and that's what people want, people don't care about an amber ale over here or an American pale wheat ale or whatever, right? It's like whatever, just out of sight, out of mind. But if you do see them, and you have never had them before, you owe it to yourself to, I think, give some of their beer a try.
Yeah, they're definitely worth doing that.
For sure. And that does it for this week's brewery segment of.
It's funny you made me think there earlier. You said about waiting in line. I should have done a video at the store when I got that zombie dust.
Yeah,
All these people wait in line for zombie dust. Like, oh, you dumbasses waiting in line. Look what I did. I just walked into the store. Full of zombie dust. There's no line, and I can get as many as I want. How's that make you feel? So.
Do not gloat, Rod. Do not gloat.
I would not wait in line for a beer. That just doesn't happen.
Although I am disappointed that you didn't get like a buy one get one free or something like that.
Yeah.
That's probably coming, Todd.
Yeah. Give it time, Todd. It's only a matter of time.
We do for $1.
Well, I'll find out on the weekend, and I'll post that video.
To finish off the segment,
look at this,
and then we have a couple.
Your subs go down quickly.
Yeah, it's actually going into the weekend. My one other spot, I got a few other spots, but my one key spot for the discounts, they should be going into their weekend. Hey, we're putting this stuff out for sale this weekend.
Yeah, by the end of it, Rod's gonna have a case of fucking 3 Floyds for like $20. It should be fun. Paul, to completely end the segment, I'll read a couple more comments and just be done with it. He says, Paul says you're a good tool, Joe. Thank you, Paul. He also says Oberon is, and I quote, PG-13, maybe shit-tastic. So he's not a fan of Oberon.
Well, that's Paul.
Give it to me, I'll drink it.
Yeah.
He also said Midwest.
That's on him.
That's on him. He also says Midwest Pale Ale and Oarsmen spelled O-R-E-S instead of O-A-R-S, but he's Paul. He's in the backwoods. He knows no better. He says are not too good for me either. He also said, did Rod get a 24 case of Two Hearted for $1 again? Again. He said, Bum says, in honor of this topic, I'm drinking a Bell's Oktoberfest, so him and Eric have something in common.
Hey, shout out to Bum. Actually, I just looked at his Untapped, and he drank a Franz yesterday from here in Cincinnati at Rheingeist. That's the Oktoberfest beer.
Nice. Bum, you got to have to join sometime, buddy. Definitely.
I don't know. Joe D might have his contract rights.
Yeah, hey, wait, listen, we don't want to infringe. We can't pay the
You can go to the
legal fees.
You better not do a malt liquor report.
Maybe we'll make him do like the opposite.
Hey, Ron, that just a distro here not too long ago. Rheingeist.
Rheingeist, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're increasing distro around some different places now, so they're getting more out there. Joe might see them pretty soon in New York.
Sign me up. Give me that dreamsicle. Paul says, I am sorry. You are. You're one sorry person. And he says also, one long-ass wrap-up, guys. Well, if you didn't have stupid comments, Paul, this wouldn't be continuing. And then Backwoods Billy Craft Beer Reviews. This will be the last comment. It says, funny thing, at beer festivals, I attend and poured at Pale Ale and Ambers 2-1 over IPAs by attendees. And that's it. That's all we got. Segment closed.
Any final thoughts?
It's a solid if you can get it.
I mean, not just with Bell's,
yeah, Bell's a solid.
Or anything. Or just a beer topic.
Yeah, we're going at it.
Hey, Joe, are you still sipping on yours, or are you done?
Oh, it is gone. Unfortunately, there's a little bit.
Well, there's just a teeny tiny bit.
We got a Bell's Porter in the fridge too. So, not to mention the Third Coast Ale.
Cheers, Todd. That was good. That we that's cool. I now for future segments, it'd be cool. Todd was mentioning. Like say next week, I'll say we do founders, but I'm not saying we're doing founders. But it'd be cool if we all like got Centennial or got the Porter or got the Breakfast Stout or something, and all drank it. And did like not a huge.
Next week might be on hold because I got like family stuff happening, but it might be the week after.
Yeah, the week after. Whenever next time we do it, and we do a actual, and also for anyone who watches afterwards, because aside from Paul and I think Billy and Bum, and actually quite a few people actually watched it, but we're going to try, and Rod I discussed a little bit with Rod last week, but we're going to try to do bigger craft breweries where, like, Stones, the Founders, the Dogfish Heads, that a lot of people can get. Some weeks you might have regional stuff that only a couple of us can get. Try to keep it to bigger breweries so we can have people in the comment section, people who join the panel, drinking something from the brewery, so we can all enjoy something from the brewery, but also you've had experience with the brewery, because that's kind of what it's all about when you're talking about it. If you bring in people like say you did like Rheingeist, or I did like a local brewery here, and there's like 2 people that can get it, everyone's gonna be like, oh, what the fuck's going on? Like, what's your favorite Rheingeist beer? I didn't know they existed. Like, one of those things.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We'll break it out by points, because I don't know how long we can keep doing breweries.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you have like your Founders and your New Belgiums, and you have some of these other ones that are out there, Dogfish Head and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sierra Nevada.
We could even do, if we get into regional breweries, we can do things where maybe one of us do a local brewery and send a couple of beers to the other people on the panels, Todd, Eric, and whatever, only a couple people, and we can talk about it, and you get kind of, you can push them up. Not a lot of people might not know about them, but it'd be cool to do like a Rheingeist. Let's say you guys each send a beer to Eric and I, and 1 week we do it. Yeah, it's a smaller Cincinnati brewery, but you get the word out there. You have a whole show on it. It'd be cool to talk about it. It's something different. You know what I mean? How else did you get the word out there? You know what I mean? How did you get the word out there?
Yeah.
But we can talk about that whenever. There's a lot of breweries we can still do that are big. Like, there's still a lot.
Yeah,
just a couple.
Yeah, just a lot.
I'm on the fence with Founders, though, because technically they're not a craft brewery anymore.
We're doing Founders, Rod. Do not discriminate against Founders because of 5%.
Technically,
come on, Rod. Come on.
It's 5%, Rod.
But with that all being said, I gotta find these breweries, and I gotta match them up to a song title here. So anyway,
hang on. One last comment from Bum in response to you says, I can legally appear here in the chat, but Joe D has me under exclusive video rights through 2018.
That's all right. I do the same thing here with my Joe, so that he can't show his other chats. He has to just use the logo. I got exclusivity to the beard.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be corrupting any other chats.
The corruptor in style there.
The corruptor.
That's your new nickname, the corruptor.
Yeah, coming in from parts unknown.
Daddy, this is the corruptor, a.k.a. Dustin Joe, baby. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, speaking of, rest in peace to Bobby the Brain.
Rest in peace.
Oh, yeah, Bobby the Brain died.
Best manager probably of all time. Definitely in the top 3.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji.
So get the wrestling segment out of the way before you go off the air.
No, baby, you don't need no wrestling segment. Get that lisp in there and the go time. Paul knows what I'm talking about.
We'll be sure without Dusty Rose, right? Well, there goes another episode. Thanks again for swinging by, and for those of you who are still hanging there, we definitely appreciate it. Be back probably, well, unless we do something over the weekend or some other time here, but probably a couple weeks or so, but we'll see what happens. You never know. Sometimes we put the pop-up hangouts out. That all being said, look forward to catching you. I don't get Eric to give his PSA.
No, I was going to say something to you.
Now settle down. Let's get prepared for it, Eric, because there's a lot of enthusiasm and intensity to your PSAs.
Because we care. We're a caring channel. We care about.
I mean, we just talked about 60 minutes about a brewery, so we need the PSA. We need it.
All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. But, guys, if you've had too much to drink, please get a designated driver. Guys, if you're going to try to be here on Drive Home Drunk, you're going to get pulled over. You're going to do a stupid sobriety test. You're going to get a ride in a cop car, in the back of a cop car. You get jail time, court fees, and impossible prison time. And then if you hit or kill somebody, you're going to be in the slammer for a long time. And if you kill yourself, you're just going to be 6 feet under, and all you've done is hurt your family and friends. Sleep off your buzz. Get a taxi, Uber, Lyft. Call somebody. Have somebody at the bar take you back home, because it's stupid to do it in this day and age, guys. Don't do it.
Words to live by right there.
Another words of Ice Cube. Yay, yay.
Before I close out, just some updated stuff. I was planning to have a video on the channel this week that will actually probably be later on, but there'll be some interviews going up with some of the different breweries. Black Star Lines out of Asheville, North Carolina. They got back to me today. There was some mix-up on stuff, but we're going to get their video done. They're going to have them uploaded. I plan to get in touch with my boys up at Lagunitas, see if I can get them to do something. Trogs Brewing, I'm trying to get back with them on some stuff. So some of the names out there that I have contacts with, Ballast Point, I know the person there that is interested. So hopefully I'll get some interviews up there with some of the beer people as well. If there's any breweries you guys want to see out there, just let me know. Shoot me a note or everything, and I'll see if I can hook it up to get somebody on from the brewery. That all being said, thanks for swinging by to check out another video. Look forward to catching you guys next time. Keep drinking good craft beers. Cheers.